Alright, so carbs aren't actually bad for you, but if you are fat, then do not eat carbs. Because you gotta understand, the reason that you're fat is because essentially you have insulin resistance, which means your only cells that are absorbing glucose when you eat carbs raises your blood glucose. The only cells that are actually absorbing the glucose are your fat cells. Okay? That's the reason you're fat, alright? Now, if you want to learn how and why that happened, then I have like other videos. I've made really long educational videos explaining that in detail. So just check my channel and you'll find out, okay? But what I want to tell you today is that, like, I eat carbs. I tell you in other videos, don't eat carbs. Don't ever eat carbs. You're fat. You can't eat carbs. I eat carbs. But I'm lean. I've got abs. I have high insulin sensitivity. I'm in puberty. And I'm an athlete. So for those reasons, I can eat carbs and I'm just fine. Because my muscles and my other cells in my body, they absorb all of the glucose that I eat. Alright? I eat honey. I drink lots of milk. I eat fruit. I drink fruit juice. Alright? That's lots of carbs. And sometimes I even eat starch like potatoes and stuff. Alright? But I can absorb all of that sugar and use it for sports like working out, exercise. Alright? And for growing, because I'm still in puberty. I'm still growing. So my bone cells are using that as well, alright? Now, if you're an adult and you're fat, well, I'm assuming you're not an athlete. You might work out, but you don't need carbs to build muscle. Carbs can help you build more muscle because of insulin activity. Insulin helps improve, it basically increases mTOR, which increases muscle protein synthesis, alright? So insulin can help, but the thing is you have insulin resistance. So your muscle cells aren't receiving any benefits from insulin. None of your cells are. It's only your fat cells because they're your last barrier. And if you keep getting fatter, if you keep abusing insulin and carbs, eventually you'll get diabetes. Alright, so then none of your cells respond to insulin, your pancreas burns out, and your blood sugar goes through the roof and you get hyperglycemia. Alright, and you can die from that, alright? So basically, you will not benefit from eating carbs. What you need to do before you can start eating carbs again is you need to burn through all of your excess body fat. You need to get lean. If you're a man, you need to be between 10 to 15% body fat. Alright? And if you're a woman, ideally 20 to 25% body fat. Alright? That looks different on a woman. You won't have six-pack abs, but that's the optimal healthy body fat percentage for women. Alright? If you're not between those body fat percentages, then if you're fat, like if you're a guy and you've got more than 20% body fat, you are definitely fat. If you're above 15% body fat, you're still not lean. You're kind of a little chubby, a little skinny fat, whatever. If you're either of those, then your insulin sensitivity is quite low and you're probably insulin resistant, especially if you get above 25% body fat as a guy, or as a woman like 35% body fat. That's when you start to see significant lowering of insulin sensitivity, partly because of the body fat itself, but also because you have metabolic dysfunction. That's part of why you're fat. But like I said, I explained that in another video. You can learn more about that specifically. But what you need to do is you need to burn off all your body fat. Because, look, carbs are good. Like I said, they're also important for converting T4 to T3, so your thyroid hormone produced there. That makes, well, thyroid hormone, T3 specifically, regulates energy usage in your body. All right, when you have more carbs and more insulin, then your thyroid production, T3 production, is increased. All right, which means you use more energy. It's good for your health. It's good for development, especially during puberty, adolescence. All right, and it basically tells your body to use more energy. All right, but the thing is, if you're obese, if you've got metabolic dysfunction and you're fat, well, you're not producing enough ATP. So your body doesn't think that you have enough energy. So your thyroid conversion is actually stunted significantly, which is why pretty much all fat people, especially obese people, have got lowered T3 conversion from T4, which is inactive thyroxine. Okay? So, once again, if you eat carbs and you're fat, it's not going to increase, it's not going to make you convert more T3 because it doesn't matter. Your body isn't producing enough energy, so you're not going to start using, you're not going to actually convert more into T3. Your metabolism will not increase when you eat carbs if you're fat. You've got a slow metabolism. Your body's automatically conserving energy. You've got elevated cortisol. If you eat more carbs, you're going to raise your insulin, and because you've got insulin resistance, your baseline insulin's higher anyway. This means you're going to just store heaps of body fat, all right? And you're not going to burn any body fat either, all right? Because insulin completely inhibits HSL and ATTRACTIVENESS, which are enzymes required for burning fat. They literally they cause body fat to be excreted and used for energy in your other cells, in your mitochondria, right? They physically burn fat. And insulin, once above around 20 microunits per milliliter, it starts to activate LPL, which is lipoprotein lipase, which stores body fat. So, if you're insulin resistant, like you are as a fat person, your baseline insulin levels are 15. And in order to burn fat effectively, you have to be below 5 microunits per milliliter. Right? That once you get below that threshold, which is your fasting insulin, that's when the ATGL and HSL are fully active, alright? So basically, you're not going to burn any body fat. You need to do fasting. You need to lower your insulin, and also when you eat food, don't eat carbs, only eat protein and fat, so that your baseline insulin will fall down gradually, and then you can start burning body fat for energy. Okay? Then once you do this, you keep repeating this. Just break your fast every 4 days with meat, eggs, fish, cheese. There's no carbs in that. It's just protein and fat. Alright? Every time you do that, you keep burning heaps of body fat. Once you get to 10 to 15% body fat, and you've excreted all the polyunsaturated fat from your fat cells, that's when your insulin sensitivity will finally start coming up a lot. And that means when you do eat carbs, like honey and fruit and milk, then your T3 will finally start rising because you're producing more ATP and your body's healthier again. Alright, you're restoring metabolic function. So, yeah, that's what you have to do. That's when it will increase your testosterone, when you eat honey. Because fat people, by the way, don't have as much testosterone. And they've got more estrogen, men. So, eating honey isn't going to help increase testosterone or whatever you think it would. Because, once again, you're fat, you've got metabolic dysfunction. It doesn't apply to you. Alright? So, that's really all I have to say. Like, I eat plenty of carbs. I eat bananas. I drink like orange juice. I drink milk, like heaps of milk, heaps of orange juice, like, and it's good for me because I'm so sensitive. I'm like 12% body fat. I've got abs, all right? And I do intense exercise. I do sprinting. I do calisthenics. I work out, all right? And I'm growing. I'm in puberty. You know, for those reasons, I should eat carbs. If I didn't eat carbs, that would probably be harmful, to be honest, because I need the energy. I need glucose. All right. Now it doesn't mean I die without it because I can still do gluconeogenesis, but in that case I'd have to eat way more protein for gluconeogenesis. All right, because keep in mind the bulk of my diet is still eggs, meat, and cheese and fish and stuff. Like that's what I eat mostly, and then I supplement that with carbs. To be clear, all right. I'm not just eating only carbs, all right, but yeah, that's where the nutrients are coming from as well, is from the meat, the eggs, the cheese, the organs, the liver that I eat. That's where the nutrients come from, and then I eat honey and dairy and stuff like that, fruit, and that complements it. Okay, so that's really what I have to say. Fruit itself, like sugar itself, isn't necessarily bad for you. But when your cells aren't listening to the insulin, right? Because it obviously every time you eat, like, so for me, I eat the honey, my insulin goes up, my blood sugar goes up. That quickly goes down because all of my muscle cells, all the cells in my body absorb the sugar, so the insulin comes right down and it's low again. For you, if you ate, your baseline insulin's already high, your blood sugar level is already higher than normal. Then if you eat honey, it'll go like ridiculously high, and then it'll take hours to come down because you're not absorbing any of it, and it just stays in your bloodstream, and you come down and it would still be kind of high. All right? So the whole time you're just storing body fat. It's just because your fat cells are the only cells that are responding. All right? They actually become somewhat more sensitive to insulin in a state of insulin resistance. So that's my point I have to make. I hope this helps you understand why you don't eat carbs when you're fat. Because look, all those fitness influencers, all those people that you're hearing online, even like the science people, are just talking about calorie deficits and doing cardio and how that's gonna make you lose heaps of fat or whatever, like lose weight. But that doesn't take into account any of what I just said, does it? All right, and it's also the reason why like at least 90% of all fat, like obese people who do these calorie deficit diets end up failing. It might work for a while, they might lose weight, but they end up giving up, and it doesn't work that quickly either. So for that reason, they quit and they never actually accomplished the mission, which was to lose body fat, get lean and healthy. All right. So this is also why if you see really lean guys and they're eating heaps of like sugary bullshit and they don't get fat, and you're wondering, well, like, how do they do that and they're not fat? Well, it's because they're so sensitive to insulin that when they do eat sugar and carbs and like cake and stuff, not that that's good for you, because that's harmful as well. All right, it's processed, it's high fructose corn syrup, it's like cane sugar, stuff like that. That's not good for you. So those people, they can do that because they're still so sensitive to insulin that they're not going to store it as fat. All right, that's why. And yeah, but if you want to learn how to actually lose body fat effectively, quickly, and using science and nature, then I have a community which you can join. The link's in the description. Yes, it does cost money, but like, you're guaranteed to get lean. 100% chance. Because this is based on science, like actual science, not just fitness influencer bullshit about calorie deficits and stuff like that. So if you join, I will personally work with you and make you get lean, all right? So on that note, I hope this helps you, and check that out. Good luck, bro.